scripture lesson for today is from Exodus chapter 3, verse 13 through 14. And it reads, Then Moses said to God, If I come to the people of Israel and say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, What is his name? What shall I say to them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. He said, Say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. May the Lord add his blessing to the preaching of his word.
Good morning, Second Baptist. How are you this morning? Good? I will very briefly talk about the elephant in the room, since many of you have asked and wanted to know and inquire, and I know sometimes it can be hard to know, like, you know, in situations like these, what to say. A lot of people said, well, I don't know what to say, and you know, a lot of us don't know what to say. Sometimes I don't know what to say, but the elephant in the room is, you know, obviously, many of you know that Luke, my son, relapsed with his leukemia again, and we're in the middle of battling that again, and we're looking and hoping and praying that this immunotherapy in Philadelphia, that we have a chance to get in, and they're going to evaluate his case. We should hear back tomorrow, but it would fill up his immune system. And what's so interesting about this, and from my standpoint, and I'll just say this, so that we can move on and get to the Word. But I feel like it's there, and people have asked, people want to know, and I feel like I should at least say something. You know, last week I preached on Jacob having an issue in his life, coming back again, and circling back again. And how I didn't realize at the time that would be kind of prophetic in a way that I didn't intend, certainly, because I'm not saying that I am ready to take Isaiah's place or anything. I guess we can just say I didn't realize quite what I was saying and how that would speak, how God would use that to speak back to our situation. But we are looking, last week I said, you know, it keeps coming back. You have to seek God and go things about in a way that is different than before. And so that kind of spoke to me this past week, and we're going to look, rather than tearing his immune system down, at possibly boosting it up to fight. So that being said, I felt like I should at least talk about that elephant in the room. And now let's get to the Word, because I'm doing okay, and Luke is going to do well, he's going to do fine, and you're going to do okay. This message today crept into my head because of certain conditions, but it is not about that condition. It's about God, and it's about each and every one of us listening for Him, even in the trials of life. And so let's get to the Word of God, shall we? Amen? All right. Can we pray? You going to do it? Yes, you will. I've seen you pray. There's a prayer warrior right there. Go ahead, Rich.
Father God, yes, come around again. Some of you know this in your hand, you put it in your hand, place it in your hand, because you're the leader, and you know how to spread it out. We know we can get to Mr. God, and this letter, the request that we have from Philadelphia, we ask that you send us through special needs, Mr. God, and access.
So, when this happened this past week, relapse happening, I immediately kind of said, as you can imagine, most people would, I'm sitting there wondering, okay, what are you doing here, God? This wasn't the way this was supposed to turn out, right? What are you doing here? You know, the kid's been through a lot. And so, you know, where are you in this? And then also, who are you in this? Who are you in this moment? Not just where are you, but who are you? Are you the one who I thought I'd heard before? Or are you, and you start wrestling with that. And in that, I kind of heard in my heart that the verses, I am who I am. Right? So I go into the school, all right? And the administrator, who I know, and I'm going into the school because I got to have a meeting with his team about what do we do here, and how are we going to coordinate this with him being in Boston and Philadelphia. So I go into the thing, And the administrator sees me, and I know her, and we always have a laugh. Her son's in a band, and they sometimes play with us. And so I look at her, and she looks at me, and she kind of puts her head down, and she comes up, give me a hug. And I look at her desk, and right on her wall, right next to her desk, she has this placard, and it says, "He is who he is." Yeah. And I looked at it. I looked at her, and she goes, "Yup." And I looked at it back, I go, "Yup." And then we went underway, and I said, "Yup, I am definitely preaching about I am who I am. He is who he is." That's what we're going to talk about today. And I just felt that. And in ancient times, you have to understand the background of this whole I am who I am thing, right? In the ancient world, the thought was that if you knew somebody's name, you could have control over what they do. Okay, there's some ancient Greek mythology where, Odysseus, if he knows the name, he can get to do what he wants, and he can control people through knowing their name. We have it in English, what is it? I thought of it in the first service and it came to me. Was it? Rumpelstiltskin, that's it, right. Rumpelstiltskin, if you know the name, you can puppeteer them and control them. And so understand what God is saying in this. When he says, "I am who I am," here's Moses saying, "All right, so I got to go back with this, and we're going to need to know who you are. So why don't you give me your name?" And in that context, he says, "I am who I am." And hidden in that context is, you don't control me. You will understand everything that I do. And you'll see this when we get into the scripture. Moses, I'm going to send you on some things, and along the way, from here to the promised land, you're not going to understand everything. And you better get it in place now, Moses, that my name is one that cannot be controlled. You can't own me. You can have me because I'm yours and you are mine, but you don't own me, and you are not going to give me the heavenly puppeteering. Because we do that sometimes. We think if I call upon God, the Bible says if you call upon the name of the Lord, you will be saved. He doesn't say if you call upon the name of the Lord, you can control everything that he does. He doesn't say that. And in the quest to know the name, and remember, deeply ingrained in the ancient world, if you know the name, you will have some power to call and invoke. Okay, that's what they did in a lot of the ancient cultures and in different religions. They invoked the name so as to control their own destiny. And right in the middle of that, he says, "Moses, I'm about to send you on one wild journey, but get this right. I am who I am. My thoughts are not your thoughts," he says. "My ways are not your ways." If you remember, I'll give you a modern example. A lot of you will remember Nintendo, right? And there were always some codes that you get. If you knew the code and you knew how to do it, you had control. Up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, select, start. And if you did that on a Nintendo game, you went to whatever world you wanted to in Super Mario, okay? All right, but it doesn't work that way with God. You don't get to invoke the magic saying and all of a sudden control him. Some people are surprised that I do that, right? Yes. I had somebody come up to me after the first service and they said, "Man, you just gave away all the codes." Now everybody's been doing it, right? But hear God in that. You're not going to up, down, left, right, B, A, select, start me. I am who I am. My thoughts, go ahead and put that passage from Isaiah 5 up, right? "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." You can't control everything I do. You aren't even going to understand everything that I do. It isn't even always going to make sense to you. There was a great, I used this illustration, it was a while ago now, but man, was it, it's got to have been 2 years ago, where Mr. Bean, everybody know Mr. Bean, okay? He plays the role of a vicar, and he's at this clergy conference, right? And he uses this Isaiah passage, right? My ways are not your ways, my thoughts are not your thoughts. And he says to this whole entire clergy group, he goes, "You know what I think God's really saying in that is, I am mysterious. Live with it. Live with it." And I'm gonna piggyback that and take it a step further, because the Bible says the righteous shall live by faith. Here, guys, right? I am mysterious. You're going to have to live by faith when you don't understand. My ways and my thoughts aren't your thoughts. You're going to have to live by trust when you don't understand. Because the righteous, they will live with its mystery. But buried in mystery, that's where faith is. Faith is alive in the mystery. Trust is alive when you don't see all the path outlined and there's mystery there. And so here, God, when He says this, and here, and while God is, God didn't go and say, live with it, right? But in ways, right? Listen, I am mysterious. You aren't going to own everything that I do. You may even be frustrated by it. But the righteous will trust in my mystery. They will find faith in my mystery. And they'll live by it. Sometimes, living by faith, that's all you got. Because you can't puppeteer Him. You can't control Him. You can't up, down, left, right, B, select, start Him. All you can do is live by faith. Live by trust. I'm going to go with, Lori, if you just like we did in the first service, just kind of follow along in Exodus, starting in chapter 3. I want you to hear the background, because I'm going to read through about 14 verses in Exodus 3. Okay? And there is so much in this that is so helpful when you understand the context a little bit. And I want to go through it together with you, because I think it really applies to all of this. In verse 1, now Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, and he led his flock to the west side of the wilderness. So they're in the desert wilderness, and he came, right in the wilderness, he came to Horeb, the mountain of God. Now, you may not know this, okay? I know I preached on this a long time ago, and again, we're still in this series of final things I want to say to you before I leave. And I got this one, and I've got next one, and this is one that I really want people to get. Because that word Horeb, the mountain of God, what do we know as the mountain of God in the Old Testament? Sinai. Well, guess what? Horeb is Sinai. It's the same mountain. But before the Bible calls it Sinai, it calls it Horeb. That's the area, that's the region. This mountain was right in Horeb, and it was a desert wasteland. And what's so interesting is the root word in Hebrew, the root of the word Horeb, means wasteland. And so God is saying, hey, that wasteland of your life, that's my mountain. Zeus, people that went and followed Zeus in Greek mythology, his mountain was Mount Olympus. Okay? I mean, he's not real, we know that. But that's where he's enthroned on Mount Olympus. If you looked at the Babylonian periods and the Persian periods, whenever their kings, okay, or even Egyptian pharaohs, they were thought to be divine, so they would come in on chariots and they'd be high and lifted up on these big seats in their chariots, enthroned with gold and silver and jewels and extravagance. But our God, the true God, says, that wasteland of your life, I will be high and lifted up. Not on Mount Olympus, not on gold, not on silver, not on jewels, but right, I will meet you and you will see my glory in the wasteland. Amen. When you're wandering through the desert, you're going to not only find me, but see me on my mountaintop. What a powerful verse. Just in that one, we haven't even gotten past one yet. We're going to have a long sermon, I bet. No. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. And Moses said, I will turn aside to see this great sight. Why is the bush not burned? Right in the middle of the wilderness, in the scorching heat of the desert, in the hot sands, you are going to see the glory of God. You are even going to feel the heat of the wilderness, but you're not going to be burned. Why? Because He is who He is, and He is mysterious. Oh Lord, you promised us a promised land flowing with milk and honey. Surely, Lord, you are going to be raised up in a mountain in the promised land. Moses, I'm going to be raised up. And you're going to see my glory right here in the wasteland, Moses. Not the promised land, the wasteland. You're going to feel the heat, Moses. And you know, it's so easy, so interesting to see. You know, and I didn't plan it this way, but last week, we talked about Jacob, going from Jacob to being renamed what? Israel. And we highlighted how Saul went to Paul and how Cephas went to Peter. But you know what? It's not just people that are transformed new names. Even the situations in the wastelands of our life, before they were sacred Sinai, were the desert sands of Horeb. And Horeb is going to be renamed in the Bible and no longer be called Horeb. In just a little bit of time in Exodus, that will be Sinai. But listen, before those sacred spaces are sacred, they're often the wastelands of your life. And just as Jacob can go to Israel, so God can take the circumstances of your life and go from Horeb to Sinai. But it's going to be a little mysterious along the way. There's going to be a burning bush in the scorching heat of the desert, but you're not going to be burned. Keep going. When the Lord saw that he had turned aside to see, God called him out of the bush, Moses, Moses, and he said, here I am. Listen, there's a point in this verse too, and I want you to grasp this. God often calls to us when we're in those wastelands of life. We think in our mind, oh, I must have God's favor. He calls to me when I'm in the promised land. Right? When things are going great. Oh, God, I have your favor. I can tell by the way our relationship is going. Look at how you're blessing me. Oh, I hear you, God. We're tight. In the wasteland of Horeb. And oftentimes it takes being in the wasteland to all of a sudden hear, Moses, Moses, come here, Moses. Sometimes you got to be walking in the hot sand to hear it. Because when things are great, we're all filled with things that we're alive about. We've got this, we've got that, and God is on the back burning shelf. And we just say, oh, he must be blessing me. But listen, hit the wastelands of your life, and you know what you hear? Hey, Moses, I'm here. This is my mountain, Moses. You think it's the wastelands of your life. You think this is the part of your life you want to hurry get past because you want to find me out in the promised land. Guess what you're missing? My glory's right here in the wasteland with you. Hey, Moses. Come here, Moses. He said, here I am. And he said, do not come near me. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground. Holy ground, Lord? Look around. This is the desert. This is the barren land. The name of this place means waste. This is the rubbish of life, God. What do you mean this is holy ground? And I tell you today, as Jacob went to Israel, so Horeb and all its rubbish wasteland and barren land became the sacred space of God, because he's there and he does things just a little bit mysteriously. You take your Zeus on Mount Olympus. You take your Babylonian kings on their chariots of gold. Give me the God who meets me in the wasteland, who calls me by name when the desert sands burn. Of this. And he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. Now there's a little point here that I just got to go with. This is the same Moses who, after this experience, when he leads the people out of Egypt and through the Red Sea, and leads them, and eventually he departs before he can get there into the promised land, right? God's allowed him to go and settle in there, but he leads this miraculous journey all the way to Egypt, back to get the Israelites back through the Red Sea, and right back here, back here again. And this is the same Moses that says after that encounter, "Show me your glory." See, before we encounter God that way, we think we're cursed. We think we're in the desert. We think we're in the wasteland. We think that God has got something against us. We think God must not be for us. And so even the thought of God can sometimes represent feeling like our life is being wasted, like our life is left in rubbish, and I don't even want to look. But when you encounter God, when God changes you from Jacob to Israel, when God takes the Horeb of your life and turns it to the sacred space of Sinai, the only thing you can do is say, "Show me more." And the same Moses who hides his face and doesn't even want to look at God in this wasteland comes back to this very spot on this very mountain, and it's the same Moses who says, "Show me more, show me your glory. Surely this place in this wasteland belongs to you. You are sovereign over all of it." But sometimes it takes a dramatic encounter with God to be in the middle of the desert heat and say, "Show me more. Show me more." Let's keep going. And then the Lord said, "I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt and have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. I know their sufferings. And I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of the land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And now behold, the cry of the people of Israel has come to me. And I have also seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppressed them. Come, I will send you to Pharaoh that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt." But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?" And he said, now listen, I want you to tune in. Stay with me on this. He said, "But I will be with you, Moses. And this shall be a sign for you." Stop there. "This shall be a sign for you when you brought the people out of Egypt." Tell me every one of us wouldn't be thinking in our head, this is going to be the sign that you're with me. You're going to bring me to the land of milk and honey that you promised. You're telling me things are going to be tough, but you know what? This is going to be, I can imagine Moses saying, "Oh man, God's about to tell me the sign. He just told me he's taking me to the promised land. He's taking me to the land of milk and honey. This is the good stuff I've been waiting for. I'm ready. Go ahead, finish it, God. This is going to be my sign. When you're out of Egypt, we're heading to the promised land." And what does God say? No. When you're out of Egypt, you shall serve me right here in the wastelands of your life. No, God. No. My sign that you're with me is when you bring me to milk and honey. Moses, you're not hearing me. I am who I am. I am mysterious. My thoughts aren't yours and my ways aren't yours. This will be a sign to you when you see me high and lifted up. When you see me and even just catch the tail end of my glory right here in the wasteland. That'll be your sign. There's your sign. There's your sign. There's your sign that I'm mysterious, that I do things differently. I'm not the Babylonian king. I'm not Zeus. I'm not going to wait and have everything be hunky-dory in your land of milk and honey. Listen, I am mysterious, Moses, and your sign is going to be when you worship me and see my glory in the rubbish, wasteland, barren land of your life. High and lifted up. Why? I am mysterious. I am who I am. And the righteous shall live by faith, even in the wasteland. Moses said to God, verse 13, if I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? Who's going to do this? What should I say you are? Who should I say? And God said to Moses, Moses, I am who I am. Brian, right in the wastelands of your life, why don't you turn and walk into that office at the middle school? I got something you need to be reminded of. He is who he is. And he doesn't always make sense to me. Now, live with it. But live by faith.
Amen.
By trust. Confidence. Secure in my love.
Amen.
Oh, you're in the wasteland? You're in Horeb? Hey, I turned Horeb and made it Sinai. Just like I took Jacob and made it Israel. Made him Israel. Just like I turned Cephas and made him Peter. I didn't wait till he was super righteous when I did that. Matter of fact, I took Saul when his whole life was a wasteland and made him Paul. The righteous will take every step of that wasteland by faith. Every step of that wasteland by trust. Because he is who he is. And he is mysterious. And his ways are not my ways. And his thoughts are not my thoughts. Live with it. Matter of fact, don't just live with it, thrive with it. I'm going to take Mr. Beans one step further. Don't just live with it. Embrace it. Thank him for it. His ways are your ways. Love him for it. Thrive with it. I am who I am. He is who he is. Turn to John 3:58. Not only will I come and be with you in the wasteland of your life, I will even become a child and come walk it with you. What did Jesus encounter when he came in? Surely he encountered royalty and robes. Surely he was marched in on a chariot like the king of Babylon. No, you forgot. I'm the God who comes in the wasteland. Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Now make no mistake about it, brothers and sisters. The Bible didn't have a grammatical meltdown. That is very intentional. There is a specific reason that that verse doesn't say, before Abraham was, I was. Because if you can say, well, before Abraham was, I was, you're still boxing him in time. You're still finding the date that he showed up. Oh no, he's making a statement. I am. I have always been. Before Abraham was, I am. Before God said, let there be light, I am. I am who I am. Before I spun the world, God spun the world on its axis, I am. Before there was cancer and childhood cancer, I am.
Amen.
Before there was suffering and heartache, I am.
Amen.
Before there was disease, I am. Before there was Alzheimer's, I am. Before there was hurricanes, I am. Before there was earthquakes, I am. Before there was tornadoes, I am. Before there was threats of war, I am. Before there was people fighting and dividing over themselves, I am. Before your suffering, I am.
Amen.
Oh, how it can be frustrating when we don't call upon his name in order to put him in a box. We can call upon his name, but not to put him in a box. And we have boxes for everything. We have big boxes called houses. And we fill them with lots of things to hold. We have garages, which are filled with a lot more things that never seem to get sorted properly. And even if they do, your kids have it undone in like 2 days. Cleaning the garage, what a menial task that is. We have sheds to put the stuff that doesn't fit in the house and also doesn't fit in the garage. We have 2 sheds. Sometimes we have storages outside of our property just to contain what is in our house and our garage and our sheds. The attic, the basement. We've got storage spots for our storage spots. And when you try to box God in, he says, I am who I am.
Amen.
I am a mystery to you, but you shall live by this. For your heart broke, I am. For you got down on your knees and wept, I am.
Amen.
Before the wasteland of your life, I am. And keep your eyes open. Keep them open wide and be sharp about this, because you might find that the wasteland of Horeb becomes the sacred space of Sinai. Let me say that one more time. I want that to sink in. You just might find, if you're looking hard enough, that the barren wasteland of Horeb is also going to be renamed the sacred space of Sinai, where I'll be high and lifted up. So I have a concluding question for you, for myself as well. And I'm going to ask that no matter what you're going through today, you have to put that aside to answer this question unbiasedly. Because if you take your current frustrations, when you have something you want so bad, you do anything, you try to fix or control anything to make the outcome, right? In those moments are the moments that you want to invoke the name of Yahweh to puppeteer him. So you got to shelve that for a minute, regardless of how bad you want something in your life, to answer this question unbiasedly. Would you really want, if you had, it's hypothetical, not real, if you could design God any way you want, if you could have him be whoever you wanted him to be, would you really want a God that you could figure out and control? When push comes to shove, is that really the God we want?
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? Would you really want a God that you could puppeteer? Because I know if I do that, all hope is lost. Because I'll make twice the disaster that I'm currently in. I know me too well, but I also know I'm not alone. If you could, would you really trade the God and want a God you could control in place of a God who says, hey, you all, I am who I am. I'll see you in the wasteland. Let's pray. Father, there's a name that we can call and have a lot of confidence in. Father. No, we can't invoke you to puppeteer you. But Father, good, good Father, loving Father, sacrificial Father, caring Father, I'll come find you in the desert heat, in the sands, in the scorching winds. And I'll show you my glory in it, Father. There's a name that can give us confidence. Lord, I ask you in this moment to challenge each and every one of us to love you for who you are. To not only reconcile and settle with, I am who I am, but to embrace it, to thrive in it, to love it, and to give thanks for it, even when it doesn't make sense. Be glorified in the wastelands of our life. Change Horeb to Sinai yet again. And show us your glory.